activists of the Yellow Ribbon movement reported that the Russian occupiers at checkpoints are pouring several liters of fuel from the cars of local residents. This practice began this week and is gaining momentum every day. At the same time, the occupiers do not touch people with Russian registration, but Ukrainians are constantly being robbed of gasoline. Gasoline taken from citizens is given to the army. Gasoline taken from citizens. All this only increases the dissatisfaction of the people. Recall, Russian-backed authorities in annexed Crimea have increased the daily limit on retail gasoline sales a month after introducing fuel rationing measures to address shortages. Crimean drivers are able to buy up to 30 liters of gasoline per person per day. Moscow-installed Governor Sergei Aksyonov said, authorities began limiting drivers to 30 liters of gasoline per purchase last month, then lowered it to 20 liters at the start of October. Crimean Prime Minister Yuri Gotsanyuk said Monday the number of functioning gas stations had increased from roughly 70 earlier in October to more than 130. Moscow-installed authorities have also imposed temporary price caps for gasoline and diesel after the fuel deficit, which began in mid-August and worsened in September, hit Crimea. Across Russia, the government has struggled to contain a broader fuel supply crunch and rising prices following Ukrainian drone attacks on oil refineries and ongoing maintenance shutdowns at several plants. Officials said earlier they expected to meet Crimea's fuel demand by the end of October. Finance Minister Anton Silvanov said last week he was confident that supply constraints would be overcome in the near future. Analysts say the Russian fuel market has shown tentative signs of stabilization after record-high wholesale prices, though demand remains high and logistical bottlenecks continue to strain regional supply. Around 50% of gas stations in occupied Crimea and Sevastopol have stopped selling gasoline due to fuel supply disruptions. Russian pro-government media outlet Kommersant reported. The publication, citing monitoring data from 17,000 Russian gas stations, said shortages were also recorded in other regions, but the situation was most acute on the peninsula. The Southern Federal District, which Russia claims includes occupied Crimea, was one of the hardest hit areas, with over 220 stations, or 14.2% of the total, suspending fuel sales. The disruption follows a wave of Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian oil refineries in August, which have strained supplies and forced Moscow to cut exports. Ukrainian strikes have targeted at least 16 of Russia's 38 oil refineries since August 2025, according to the Financial Times, pushing Russian diesel exports down to their lowest level since 2020. Ukraine has urged Western allies to impose additional sanctions on Russian energy, arguing that cutting Moscow's oil revenues would weaken its ability to finance the war.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his country stands ready to build on trade talks when the Americans are ready to have those discussions. We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We recognize that policy has fundamentally changed from the 1980s, Carney said Friday morning before boarding a flight to Asia. We have to focus on what we can control and realize what we can't control. According to Associated Press, U.S. President Donald Trump complained about Canada because of recent television ads protesting U.S. tariffs, which he calls egregious behavior aimed at influencing U.S. court decisions. The Republican president posted Friday morning on his social media site that Canada cheated and got caught on the tariff ads. Trump late Thursday said he's ending all trade negotiations with Canada. Trump's social media post late Thursday came after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said he aims to double his country's exports to countries outside the U.S. because of the threat posed by Trump's tariffs. Trump's call for an abrupt end to negotiations could further inflame trade tensions between the neighboring countries.
All right, good morning. Look, for months we have stressed the importance of distinguishing things we can control and things we can't control. We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We recognize that that policy has fundamentally changed from the policy in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s. And it's a situation where the United States has tariffs against every one of their trading partners to different degrees. And it's in that context that our officials, my colleagues, have been working with their American colleagues on detailed, constructive negotiations, discussions on specific transactions, specific sectors, steel, aluminum, and energy. And a lot of progress has been made. And we stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada, and families in both of our countries. Now, what we can control, absolutely, is how we build here at home. And that's the focus of Budget 2025, generational investment here in Canada. And what we can also control, or at least heavily influence, is developing new partnerships and opportunities, including with the economic giants of Asia, which is the focus of this trip. En français. Pendant des mois, j'ai souligné il faut distinguer en ce que on peut contrôler et ce qu'on ne peut pas. On ne peut pas contrôler la politique commerciale des États-Unis, et cette politique-ci a changé fondamentalement depuis des années avec la nouvelle administration. Maintenant, il y a des tarifs contre tous les pays, tous les pays du monde, en effet. Et dans ce contexte, le gouvernement du Canada a eu des discussions très constructives, approfondies, détaillées avec les Américains afin de faire de progrès dans le secteur de l'acier, de l'aluminium et de l'énergie et d'autres secteurs après tout cela. Et nous sommes prêts à continuer à bâtir ce progrès quand les Américains sont prêts. Mais, point final, on peut contrôler comment on bâtir cette économie ici. Ce sera l'objectif du budget qui va être dévoilé dans quelques semaines. Et on peut contrôler nos nouveaux partenariats, surtout en Asie, avec les géants économiques en Asie. Et ça, c'est l'objectif de ce voyage. Merci beaucoup.
Est-ce que Doug Ford devrait se débarrasser d'annonces?